Good morning.
Good morning.
How do we find ourselves today? What's our state of mind?
Happy, I guess. Fresh, energized. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of pick up. There's a calmness also. Sometimes we start these episodes like exploding. Yeah, it's time though. So we have a topic. We do have a topic, like a service to me, because I'm exploring. I'm exploring people and organizations, and I've been doing so for a long time. When asking why, is it that agile transformations or evolvement works or not? And I'm going to do a workshop later this week, Friday in Warsaw, the LOS conference. And you were so kind, so you said, "Let's talk about that." What did you what raised your curiosity though? What Why is it that you're okay with this topic or interested, intrigued, or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, more than okay. Absolutely interested, Magnus. I think that it's you link the two words people and organization, and we're linking that to agile transformation. Um, and that links me to Astrid Klaassen. You know her as well, right?
Yeah.
In a podcast I heard her say, "It's all about people." Like, what's the one thing we should remember about agile and agile transformations? And I remember she said in a podcast, it's all about people. And I think that triggered me. And there's books that talk about this as well. But typically in agile transformations, I have the feeling that we too often forget it's about people, and not just people, but people's interactions with each other, social interactions. And then
Mm.
what really triggered me in what you said, Magnus, is I know you're really very much into neuroscience and what you learn from is it Robert Sapolsky? I think so, from his book.
Among others,
Yeah,
yes.
but I that you talk about him a lot, and so what really triggered me is how you link this the people, organization, agile transformation, but how we are influenced by our brain. So that's why I said let's talk about this in the podcast, because it's definitely going to be a service to anyone who listens to us. So yeah.
But great. Then we have Astrid. Welcome, Astrid. You're in our mental space. We have different views and memories of you, but certainly humans are at the center of everything I've said. I think I've been working as a manager and then team member and then scrum master in that order for the same organization for 10 years. They were already into Scrum when I joined, and then I learned. It was my first exposure. But you could say that I've been studying 10 years. Why that the next level, or the what you can feel is the ultimate. Oh, I can see it. It will become, people will be able to live their full potential. This organization will just fly. And we kind of agreed, everyone, and still it didn't fly. So I've been asking why, like, a lot. And then neuroscience, biology came in, and it started to unpack and find forces at play that I think is really consequential. So I gave that talk, and I said that all organizations are rational until you put people in. And you could say that, yes, I said that the first principle of this is humans, like we are the primary cause, if you will. Then Bas Vode, or in Flemish, how is his name?
Bas Vodde, it's kind of the same.
Bas
Yeah,
Vode. Yeah, well,
Vodde.
I'm trying,
Yeah,
getting there. I'm getting there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Bas, if you will ever view this. Sorry for killing your name all the time. But he gave a beautiful little talk in 21. It's available online, Less Works. I don't remember the title verbatim, but it's something like technical question mark practices question mark in Scrum, and he does a lot of system thinking diagram. And but what is pointing towards, suggesting perhaps, is that some technical practices we talk about might actually be practicing social skills. Most clearly would be pair programming. And so then it dawns upon me, yes, the humans are a first principles. It is, however, so backed by neuroscience that we are also shaped by the organizations and company we work in. You could say we become conditioned. So you could say that humans create the organization that shapes the humans. And so it becomes a circular dependency. It's a coupled problem or a coupled opportunity, perhaps. It's an entanglement. And the organization and design of organizations will shape the minds of the people that works in it. And then Anil Seth has something, he says that you could view consciousness or awareness as that your brain is a prediction engine. So one way of looking at this, just one lens, is to say that we will build a prediction. We will build a model in our brain. It builds slowly or gradually. And most of the time, Anil Seth said, we are actually kind of projecting that model out into the world, and we just validate of all the things we see. What we validate is that which we already have in our brains. Now, this gets interesting to me. It suggests possibly that how we became conditioned and what habits we built has a lot to do with what then happens if we're going to do a change, like an agile transformation. We are going to do an upheaval. Are you staying with me, Serge? This is kind of long.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in what you're
So
saying.
a force field, what is a force field at play? What is a major force that is subconscious and automated? Well, we are changing authority and mandate wildly, like if you do a stereotypical organization with hierarchy and management layers, they are gone. It's like they never existed. It's not like we delegated authority to the teams. It's like you cannot take it back. If you really think about it, if you have like a team-based organization, the authority is with team product owner scrum master. It's like if we're doing scrum at least, or less. So that change, if you draw that on paper, it seems kind of okay. It's an analytical thing, but like as in Professor Sapolsky, and it's kind of natural, the biology of humans changing status and ranking is like hugely interested because we are herd animals. So who's going to be responsible for what is really something we occupy ourselves with. And for instance, or grouping us and thems, and this prediction engine ID. So this is pretty big ideas and maybe a bit abstract. Is this landing in any way, shape, or form in you?
It absolutely does. Yeah, I'm seeing I'm kind of visualizing the thought patterns here as well, because there's a lot in what you say, I think. So what I hear you say, Magnus, is we are naturally biased by the thoughts we have already, or the predictions that we try to make in our head. And what I like, and this really becomes self-reflection, which is excellent, because we think that something is going to turn out that way. We only check that hypothesis, right? So would that also mean for you that it might limit our vision looking at things?
Yes.
Since we are only looking for that prediction that our brain makes, and it's not our fault, it's just how our brain works and how biology works, right? But and we only check that one hypothesis, it's a very binary thing. Whereas if we look at it more openly, and is that maybe an invitation as well then?
Yes, it's an inquiry. I think there's a helpful view. It maybe make a couple of definitions or distinctions. Like what we're talking about. Like there's a saying, "All truths are partial." Okay, there's a way of understanding that phrase, and that is to say that in an infinitely complex world, like weather systems, it's not a direct causal or linear. You cannot use reductionist to isolate a singular cause and then analyze the cause effect and then think it's true, because hidden, if you do that reductionist view, hidden will be other factors that are influenced and influenced back. There's a lot of feedback loops going on. There's a lot of feedback loops going on. So we are looking at patterns, evolving emergence, like chaos theory almost. So what we're talking about now is more like kind of like that. So to say that there's a prediction brain and we have a cognitive bias because of it, and we only validate the model we already had, is true. It might not be exactly the full truth.
Mm-hmm.
But what is true and what is important to notice, to recognize, is that this here prefrontal cortex, well, they say, fMRI guys, neuroscientists, this is where your high reasoning is. Well, forgive me if I'm not remembering everything exactly correctly. And it's like a limited resource. So humans has this amazing skill to analyze and think about things, calculate, plan, and it is so, and make reason of. But it's just that it's a limited resource. So we cannot do it for all of the reality all the time. So for instance, now my brain is really, really focused on this topic, but I could, oh, there's a guitar, Serge, what's about that? And some people are really scatterbrains like that, and it's not comfortable either. So yes, in a way, that way, like uh, cognitive bias, but it kind of hints that it's like your thoughts. It's like only for the analytical part of your brain, but it might be the entire life. So it depends on how you put meaning to the word cognitive bias. The
Mm-hmm.
experience of the reality will always be selected on the conscious level. But sensory data and on subconscious perception and meaning making of that will be much richer experience. But the conscious part of the brain is only catching up.
Yeah, and what you say now adds such a huge layer to everything, right? Because it's not just cognitive bias; it's influenced by everything we have experienced. Everything. I'm making it big now, but yeah, possibly everything we've experienced consciously and subconsciously.
Yeah, it's
So yeah,
permeating.
it's cognitive bias, but then also it's unconscious bias. Maybe can I use that phrase?
Yeah, I think so. Let's try it. Let's try it on. And here's the thing: like, so the best body talk, technical practices might be social skill training if you think about it. And I was thinking about that and unpacking, making a store in my brain. So a team, I've experienced that. We are now suggesting pair programming. It hasn't happened before. Now imagine that there's a junior, and that junior might be of that sort that performing is really the only way I get attention. I have this hypothesis given by maybe both genes and feedback loops that I have attention when I perform really well, otherwise not, which might build a loop that suggests that I need to perform, I need to do well in order to be recognized or observed or be actually belong to. Okay, so performance anxiety might be closer then, because if I don't perform, there's much to be lost. So given the suggestion of pair programming, what is now activated in this imaginary person? Well, of course, fear. Fear of I am going to be judged. A senior person is going to look at my code when I haven't even gathered my thoughts, and I will do some mistakes and they will be visible. And surely they will think I'm a joke. And this is only like happening in the blink of an eye. And most of that is probably just an emotion in the body. What the mind really does is skipping through that because normally we don't stay and observe it. Instead, we run to a better place. And the better place is an action. And that action is say, well, you know what, this all fine, pair programming, more but it's not for me. It's not my style. Or in fact, we have so much to do, and I think it's just, you know, given the time pressure, it's better we really do what we are good at. And so, since I'm the front end guy and you are the back end guy, and then we rationalize our way. But well, what if we practice to be together? Got out of the comfort zone and we experience the pair programming and we stay with it for a while. Then what? It might be, it's a bit like when you have a phobia. like fear of heights or of spiders. We all know that there are, if you have severe cases of that, you can get training and you will be exposed to the fear. And eventually the brain will learn that actually it's just a projected fear. Or in other words, it was a prediction model. Okay. So where I'm going with that, I'm not sure if that's, but if it's true there, if this pattern is true there, where else? Is this maybe also applicable to how we show up at work? This is the way we work over here. This is the way we choose to interact in the coffee queue. How we show up in rooms or meetings. How we do things around here. Is there an organization such where we have a culture? We have a really hearty language here. It's kind of raw, but it's all good, right? And sometimes that's just an excuse because people are really kind of toxic and really mean with each other. And it's kind of hidden. It's become a norm that is accepted, and it kind of rolls on, even though no one wants it. That's kind of, is that culture? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying because I have a couple of thoughts from what you're saying. Maybe I'm gonna phrase it as a question. How would you, with the knowledge you've gathered and experience you've gathered in this, Magnus, how would you open this up? Like, how would we break those? How could we break those patterns? What can we do?
I think that a big anti pattern is to be in rush. When we are in fight flight mode, our brains are actually literally biologically working differently, because if you're in a really fearful situation, what good is it to have a thoughtful brain that carefully analyzes different options and weigh for and against? If you're threatened by a lion, you'd better run now. And so the brain has shut off the higher functions, actually has hormones. I don't remember exactly, but hormones and blood streams are different. So you get more energy to muscles and fast reaction circuits in the brain, which is good. But if we have that at work, we continue to run habitually in what appears to be fearful situations when actually we don't have to be in fight flight mode. And to be present in the moment require us to become really present and notice, and what's here? Okay, good. And what's here again? And besides that, what is also here? And then more. And eventually, if we calm down, maybe we start to shift our conversations. I have to admit that given this proposition of pair programming, I feel a rise of fear in my body. I can notice it becomes tense. And it's difficult for me to say that before you guys, but I just have to get it out there. What about you? Are you looking forward to this, or what's your reaction? And maybe someone is really, because they have a positive experience. So looking at the suggestion of pair programming, they are really like, yay, let's go for it. And maybe someone else is really like, ooh. So I would say, to circle back to the question, to become present and aware and practice to notice what's going on, and possibly at least internally in the brain, just put a title. Oh, I'm afraid now. Huh. Oh, interesting. Why is that? Or I'm excited now. Oh, interesting. Why is that? Does this connect to you? Does it land?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being in that moment, and I think the first part, if I yeah, let's call it analyze what you just said. I think the first step is recognizing this within yourself. It's the the being self-conscious about what's happening, what my body telling me right now. But then the next step, and I think that's an even bigger one, is showing the vulnerability, sharing that with the people around you.
Being human.
And that, yeah, being human, but that's we made that we made such efficiency exercises that that part, the slow, we talked about this in previous episode, the slowfulness, if you like, is a efficiency out of everything. But then sharing that, and very often when you show vulnerability, it opened up the door for other people to be vulnerable, and then the true conversation happens, and then you take a next step. And so yeah, I think it boils down to something, yeah, we talk about a lot, eh? It's opening that space and making that time, that slowing down to create that space. It's yeah, that's the thought where I'm going.
Mm, mm.
So maybe also an invitation to our listeners, like, when do you recognize these moments? Do you recognize these moments? When do you experience them, and how you deal with them? How can you share those with the people around you, and step over that fear together, maybe, rather than alone?
Maybe.
Could that be something?
Or the habit, the subconscious habit that is not constructive for the value you are saying that you as a company want to bring. So we talked about team, and it might associate a because now our attention is possibly associating to team. What about others? Is it possible, like, to think a bit differently? You know, the jargon, those evil managers. Now, if that's the prediction, if they have been conditioned to act certain ways, and it's just like a prediction model mostly running them, might we find ourselves a different opening, like a compassion of sorts, or vice versa? If being a manager and those teams are not performing, or those salespeople, about those salespeople, and coming from, like, they are not acting as we said we want. So per then I come to the conclusion that these are evil people. They want to hurt us. They want to oversell. They are
Yeah,
mean.
and
And
they
then
are the
that's a blocked
problem. Yeah,
sit there, then we're blocked. So what if we could, like, neutrally observe that we are all victims of the same conditions? We are humans. Welcome. As humans, we have a prediction engine, and it has some consequences. And you know what? We can help each other out to create an environment that is constructive.
so if we make this bigger, because now, if we make this us versus them thing, like two teams working with each other and sometimes against each other, I hear an invitation again. I hear an invitation for openness and curiosity, and yeah, possibly empathy, but maybe not go there yet. But the question is, how do you see this? What's
How
the
do
problem you are facing, and
you mean mm,
so yeah, so stepping over the we are great and you are not, and you cause the problem, is to go stand by their side, and try to understand how they see it. That's
yeah, I mean, for instance, then sales are acting like very demanding, and wanting push new sales and development much quicker than you currently are able to do because of reasons. You might have technical debt, you might not have your Zeta pipeline that continues deployment, stuff like that is just not going to happen, and they are, like, focusing on singular new cases. We have to win this customer. If we lose this customer, we will be out of business, or this opportunity only comes once every 5 years. You just have to do it, and there you are as a team, and you say, well, we have the capacity. It's we can carry 1 liter of milk. You're asking for two. It's not going it, and they don't have time to listen, and then we got a conflict, and we do not resolve it. But what if, maybe they are incentivized to do a lot of sales, So they have an OKR, perhaps, like a target. And actually, you know what? They've been working like that for 20 years. Because they get praise. Oh, you made a new deal. Beautiful. Did we make money on that new deal? I'm not so sure. What was the, well, there's a revenue, but what was the cost? And so then you can say that the organization has become, it's a self-inflicted wound by dividing stuff that would be valuable for the entire organization. You get that is actually sub-optimization, right?
Yeah, and that's a whole new topic, but it's don't sub-optimize. Look at the bigger system. Look at the end-to-end
Yeah,
chain, and then
exactly. But I find it's kind
absolutely.
of constructive to have in the back of our mind the permeating fact that this prediction engine is there all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you skillfully help it bring about a new model more helpful for. That's why we have empirical thinking or empirical process control. The intent is that by having feedback loops, we will upgrade our prediction engine so that we'll be ever more efficient into habitually put all of our powers into working together to create the value that requires new ways of working. Well, yes, I don't, we're kind of wrapping up, I think, because this is. I'm slightly still though. It's like we're only dancing on the surface of things.
Yeah, still, but yes and no. We're still dancing on the surface, but we're nearing half an hour of recording, and we covered so many things. I mean, it's like we often have this in these recordings, right? We go on this topic and then we dance a bit, and we think, oh, we could go deeper here and there and there, and some of the thought trains that I had 15 minutes ago are gone now, and they might come back if we continue to talk. But on the other hand, I think we made a really nice circle too. Like we started with this human factor, the people, the biological neuroscientific link. And then now circling back with your end statement of empiricism and feedback loop, that possibly positively influences that.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm happy
It
with
seems
that, Magnus.
yeah, good.
Are you?
Well, it's clear to me as an observation that this is more about finding the right questions to look with. I'm not in a position of answers necessarily. Maybe suggesting patterns. What if we look at the world this way? What might we see? But it's truly like you and me. We are still in question mode. Me as well, right? So, but asking the right question is of the essence. I think. So my wrap: don't forget humans and how humans work. If you're looking at what is happening in your company, because after all, arguably, nothing has happened without humans. And in addition, humans slightly will become what your company has been, what your organization has been, because the prediction engine will be updated to work and it has automated certain ways of being because of the culture. Yeah.
I have nothing to add. It's excellent.
I'm out of focus on the video camera. If you listen to this, there's an odd chance that you stay to the end. Well, wait. That's a bad thing to say. I really wish that you stay to the end and that you have something valuable to end this conversation. It's like an inquiry. We are curious. So thanks for viewing, everyone.
Thanks for being with us, and see you or
In the
listen
next
to
one.
each other next time.
Take care.